Howdy YouTube, Darlington Farm here, just over here in the Oak Street house, and thought I would do a follow-up to actually one of my earliest videos. I did a two-part review of my Dewalt 12-inch sliding miter, my 718 or DW 718 here. It was kind of, I'd only had it for a couple of weeks at that point, and I thought I would kind of do a more in-depth after having had it for a year video here. Here's the Dewalt DW 718. Right there, 718. Anyway, after having had it for a year, I really like it. It's now been replaced by the DW 780, which actually seems like it addresses all of my gripes with the 718 here. But so you can get these really cheap now. They had them on sale at Home Depot for $4.99 for this saw, and you got the stand here for free, which, yeah, that's a pretty good deal. When I bought this, I think I paid $5.99 for the saw, and then the stand was an extra 200 bucks. So you can get these really cheap right now if you're in the market for one. The good, the bad. The good, I have beat the crap out of this saw. I've cut 4x penetrated on it. I've cut 4-inch PVC, 2-inch PVC, 3-inch PVC. Lap siding. I've used it in my cabinet shop for miter doors, and it works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. There's very little deflection on the head here. Even if you pull to one side or the other, you only get a few thousandths worth of deflection, which I can't complain about. That's pretty good, and that's even when it's all the way slid out here. This right here is the lock for the slider, and there's the sliding action there, and it slides out quite easily. There's more deflection with it slid out there. I don't know if you can see that or not when I'm pulling on that, but very little deflection. I stuck my, I think it's a woodpecker alignment gauge for my table saw on here, and I only got about 5 thousandths worth of deflection, pulling back and forth on it with a reasonable amount of force. So the deflection is very little. The lock down here is nice. It's not as fancy as the, I think the Hitachis have the digital gauge on them. I guess you get what you pay for, but I really like the saw. I mean, it's it's a pretty decent saw, especially for the money. I'm a Festool fanatic, so I kind of compare everything to Festool. It's not as good as the Capex, but the Capex is like 1,300 bucks for the stand, or for the saw, 800 bucks for the stand. You can get this whole setup for less than what you can buy a Capex for. So, it's a good saw. I can't complain. Sort of on to the bad. The dust collection, or rather, I should say the lack of dust collection, is just a joke. Yeah, this doesn't really do much of anything. It took me probably about 10 minutes to vacuum up in here. With my shop vac, in my wood shop, generally what I do is I just will take, I've got one of those deals that's, I think it's meant for a lathe, where it's probably about a 1 foot by 1.5 foot sort of cone, and just kind of have it hanging back here, and then that hooks up to my dust collector, which is about a 1,200 cubic foot a minute dust collector in the house here. I just slide my shop vac over there, over the dust port here, and it really doesn't do much, but it does kind of keep some of the finer dust down. It still just makes a huge mess, which is kind of my gripe about the saw. The other thing, the saw does not come with a laser or a light, which is kind of crappy. The new 780 or DW 780 does. I absolutely love the light here. This was an add-on. I think it was an extra 45 bucks. It's a DWS 7085. If you're looking at it, it's the LED light. It's a really simple plug-in. There's just 2 screws right here, screws right in, and then this one screws on with a couple of screws here, and is really nice. If you're not familiar with the light, let me throw a piece of wood up there so you can see it. Instead of having a laser, what it does is it has an LED that is mounted right there to where it shines on either side of the blade. And as you come down, it casts a shadow, and so you know exactly where your blade is going to cut. You don't have to adjust when you're changing back and forth between blades, which is really nice. Right now I have this 96 tooth. I know I shouldn't be monkeying with the blade when I have it plugged in here, but I just wanted you to see the LED light there. Yeah, 96 tooth Diablo blade I was using for cutting PVC, and it also does a really nice job on wood, by the way. But anyway, so switching back and forth between blades. And this is a thin kerf blade. In my wood shop, I have a full kerf, full, 1/8" kerf, cut-off blade that I use, and so it is really handy. With the light here, you don't have to switch back and forth, or when you switch back and forth between blades, you don't have to adjust, which is nice. One thing that Capex does not do, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah, the slider is good on it. It does actually have a mortising attachment, or not attachment, but feature here. You can flip this down, and that limits the depth of travel on the cutter head here. There's a wing nut here, and then a knurled knob that you can adjust for if you want to make a mortise in something. It's kind of a pain. The one on the Capex is a lot better, but then again, this saw is a lot cheaper. Overall, good saw. I can't complain. Ambidextrous lock here for the angle. Yeah, can't complain. Good saw. Beat the crap out of for the last year. Still just as accurate as when I got it out of the box. I did not need to do any adjustment to it. It's really easy to adjust. You just loosen these screws here on the angle plate, and you can work it back and forth. The same on the other angle back here. Works really well. Yeah, just pretty much lack of dust collection is my only gripe. And the cost. Now you can get them really cheap. And lack of any sort of laser or light. So if you get this model, you will have to get, well, you don't have to, but it is nice to actually buy the add-on light here. So anyway, yeah, and also the 780, the one that replaced this, has a much larger dust collection setup here. I think the hose is about twice the diameter of this, and then it also comes with an LED light. So kind of the advantages if you get the new one there, and I think they have an upgraded sort of wheeled cart for this. I don't remember the exact model of that, but yeah, it's kind of
fancier and newer and a little better. But I do like the stand here. It slides out where you can actually get 16-foot lumber on there with no problem. The ends here are kind of a little hokey. The miter stand for the Capex is awesome. This, you can use as a positive stop for cutting stuff, but it's not as nice. And you can lock them down by turning that and use it as a positive stop if you're doing repeated cuts, but it's kind of a pain. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Click, comment, subscribe. Any other tool reviews or anything you want to see, I'm happy to put them up, and thanks for watching. Howdy YouTube, Darlington Farm here, just over here in the Oak Street house, and thought I would do a follow-up to actually one of my earliest videos. I did a two-part review of my Dewalt 12-inch sliding miter, my 718 or DW 718 here. It was kind of, I'd only had it for a couple of weeks at that point, and I thought I would kind of do a more in-depth after having had it for a year video here. Here's the Dewalt DW 718. Right there, 718. Anyway, after having had it for a year, I really like it. It's now been replaced by the DW 780, which actually seems like it addresses all of my gripes with the